You ready? Good, okay. All right, the time is 6:30 p.m. and we call this special meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. We have a quorum present with every member of council in the meeting room. Mr. Fuller's online to help assist with any answers that need to be provided. Present, we have Assistant City Manager, Mr. Phillips, and Ms. Gloria is here also from our finance office. Notice has been duly posted in accordance to the Texas Government Code, Section 551, and we are here to conduct business specifically for various items that are on the agenda. We do have several submissions for citizens' comments. There's two that, with the new change in law, that we need to read into the record, and those are from a public portal, and it's on specific properties, and it's feedback on property number 169. I need to state this, probably. Okay, 169-267. The address is South 308 Overlook Drive in Red Oak, Texas 75155. Tellez, I can't say the last name. Ignacio. Feedback posted on August 12th at really early in the morning, 12:39 a.m. And it just says, "When are you fixing my street? Taxes, and my street worse every day." I'll submit that to go into the record. We had a second new portal feedback on property 224522. That's 124 Springfield Lane, Waxahachie, Texas 75165. That's Bruce and Christy Strange. And it just says, "I strongly oppose the proposed tax increase. This will increase my property taxes by $400 next year. Increases are taxing people out of their homes." So we'll submit that for the Stranges. We have two others that have filled, maybe others that are filling information out. We'll take them in the order that I received them. Ms. Sturman, if you want to, if you'll come up to the mic, state your name, and you do reside in the city limits, and you want to speak. Let's see, hang on just a second. So you're going to be talking about 8, 9, and 10. 9 is a public hearing. You're welcome to do it then, or you can do it now, however you care to do that.
Do everything now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I said that. I apologize. We have all 5 council members present in the facility. I don't know. I just want to make sure that we're all good.
Easy enough to make sure.
Okay. So this is important. We're going to increase that amount of time, so we'll give you 4 minutes. And to be honest, I'll even give you 5 minutes because there's not that many people here. So, okay.
My name is Kim Sturman, 201 Methodist Street. I was here last week regarding the budget. Mayor Stanfield said the budget increase by $8 million was due to higher property taxes, and I should take that up with the Ellis County tax assessor. Property values are not determined They do not determine the budget or the tax rate, the city council does, and citizens are stuck with their bill. How do the citizens of Red Oak pay for this spending? According to the Red Oak proposed annual budget, because I did go online and look at it, certified property appraisals have increased by 28%. However, the city council has proposed only a 1/2 cent decrease in the tax rate from last year. Therefore, the increases in revenue to the city from property taxes is an additional $2.5 million. The state recommended a no new tax rate of only 57 cents, but the city council has decided to increase our taxes to the highest amount possible without a vote from the citizens to 69.7 cents. That is almost $320 more per year for an average home. In addition, and your average according to y'all's budget was about $250,000 or $247,000, whatever. So that's where I got that $320. In addition, sales tax revenues have increased over 14%. Licenses and permits are up 98%. Water and sewer revenue is up 16%.
Girl. Come on.
And all this is paid by the citizens of Red Oak. This is outrageous, especially at a time when inflation is at an all-time high, higher than it has been in 40 years. The poor are becoming destitute, and the middle class are becoming the poor. And this city council has increased wages, salaries, contractual services, and benefits about $4.5 million in the last 2 years. Please be advised we are watching. Please take notice that the school board has listened to the citizens regarding their $230 million bond, and they have decided to lower a new bond request for $94 million. And they have also lowered their tax rate 3.5 cents from last year. Ellis County judge and commissioners approved a budget which will cause Ellis County to be debt-free in just a few years, while decreasing the taxes to the no new revenue rate of just 29 cents. While the city council is adopting a no new tax rate of 57 cents would most benefit our citizens, especially during these times, I am sure this council can at least have a heart, be more cognizant of their fiscal responsibilities, and adopt a much lower tax rate that is a balanced compromise between the no new tax rate and the voter approved rate, even if it means trimming the fat that is in this budget during these very lean times. And the citizens will love you for that.
Thank you. Ms. Sherman? Ms. Story?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Penny Story. I live at 106 South Summit in Red Oak. And basically, I just want to make a general statement. You know, everybody's looking for money. But you know what? There's two parts to this. It's income and then what we spend. And in our personal homes, we have income and we spend money. And sometimes we have to cut back on what we spend because of inflation or other reasons. Well, government budgets are no different than our personal budget. You have income and you have expenses. And when you have to trim your expenses to your income. You can't just keep raising income. You can attempt to do that. And as Mark one time, and when we were here before to talk about tax rates, and it was pushed to the maximum.
Yes.
And the public was complaining.
Yes.
And there was standing remotely in the room.
Yes.
And your comment then was, I support, because you don't have a vote in that unless there's a tie, I support the highest tax rate because it is legal and because we can. That doesn't resonate well with the citizens who have a personal bank account, and the taxes that they're having to pay are higher, a bigger portion of their everyday budget. So, I would just say that, for all taxing entities, we have to look at expenses as well as income. Also, I don't know where you're going on your tax rate. I just simply want to say that if we're going to the amendments, we'll talk about that in a minute. There is a petition that the citizens can file to call for an election if the de minimis is over the voter approval. So we'll see where that goes. And I think this next year, some of the citizens, we haven't been as citizens involved in the government entities as long as maybe some of you have. But we have learned that it's very important we look at the budget. Since we're paying the bill and collectively. So I think that this next year, there are citizens in Red Oak who are seriously going to look at the budget of the schools, the city, and see what they think they can be prepared for next year. We weren't ready for this year, but we will be next year. We will have done our homework. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Story. Thank you. Mr. Griffin, are you ready? Sure. Okay. Again, like everyone else, we're limiting up to 5 minutes, and you had specifically wrote on there 9, which is a public hearing. You can either do it now at the citizens' comments, or
I can cover everything at one time.
yeah, and it's still going to be a public hearing, so if you have something else, you're welcome to get back up and speak at that time frame.
Don Griffin at 1002 West Red Oak Road, Red Oak. Been here 28 years. Every year I pay taxes, property taxes, school taxes. This tax proposal that you guys are working on tonight to pass, I am definitely opposed to it. It is city taxes, and I don't think you need to put that much burden on the taxpayers. It's increased every year, and it's time for it to stop. It's time for y'all to draw in your horns a little bit on your budget, so that all of us that are working and paying these taxes don't have to look forward to that every year. Yes, taxes have to be paid every year, but they can be toned down some. So I just want to go on the record and say, yes, I am opposed to this proposition. I hope y'all will reconsider it and keep those taxes low. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Griffin. Okay. So, since we're going to go to regular session items, we'll start with item 8, so you are not having to wait all that long. Item 8 is consider approval of ordinance number 22-032 of the City of Red Oak, Texas, approving and adopting a budget for the fiscal year October 1, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, providing that expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with said budget, appropriating and setting aside the necessary funds out of the general fund and other revenues for said fiscal year for the maintenance and operation of various departments and for various activities and improvements in the city, providing for a repeal of all ordinances in conflict, and providing a severability clause, providing an effective date. Ms. Blatt, or
I believe Mr. Fuller's in.
okay, Mr. Fuller.
I'm on mute. Council, this is the same budget that you all have looked at, been through over the past several months. We held a public hearing last week. And at this point, it is ready for you all to approve. I'm not sure if there is a specific motion that Gloria needs for that. Gloria, is there something specific that is needed for it?
It's just approval of the ordinance to approve the budget.
Okay. I know there's a couple of them that do have specific motions. This one's just approval of that ordinance number.
Okay, so council, before we approve this and before I entertain a motion, I kind of want to, touch base because some of this goes to what our citizens have kind of talked about. And in grand scheme of things, if we wanted 2 police officers on the whole force to patrol the city, then we wouldn't necessarily need to be raising money. If we didn't want to have equipment to be able to put out those house fires that are in your neighborhood, we wouldn't be raising taxes. The inflationary rate not only affects you, but it affects everything that we do in the city on purpose, buying, supplies, everything else. I think last week, it's about, I think, $12 a month on a homestead, is what the calculations that we've gotten from the tax office and from us. Now, I don't know why you would not agree with that, because those are the numbers that are given to us by the taxing entity. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's given to us from the appraisal district for the average.
Yeah, so average. So, and that, right now, it's sitting at 247,000 for an average. There, wear and tear on the roads. So if you want to go down potted roads, then we don't have to pave them or protect them. It's a fine line that we have to draw to try to provide services for the city residents. Just like it's strapping you, it's strapping our employees. So we're trying to offset some of that strap too. Council, if you want to say anything, please, and then.
I saw the chief of police, when I came in. I asked him what he had what a starting police salary was. It's $63,000. Last year, our budget was $51,000 what we paid. We couldn't get any policemen. Nobody would come in. We're not competitive. I think the chief could probably address it better. Inflation really hits particularly people. And one thing I've been associated with the city is what's played 2004. And one thing that we found is that you don't pay people, you're going to get bad people. So you've got to pay people if you're going to get the time to sort of carry this city forward. And we're growing tremendously. And if we weren't growing fast, we wouldn't have to have a lot of this stuff. But it's just, I think it's just incredible what we have to do to keep this thing going. I think we cost about 17,000 in the city right now. And it's really growing. That's something like 2,000 lots that have been approved for housing. Actually, there's just so many things where you borrow money, and the money coming in is for the budget, but it's not all taxes from home. And I understand, I've been with taxes before. That's all, I think.
So, and I want you to hear the thought process. We can't debate back and forth. So unfortunately, I'm trying to answer some of those questions. That's not legal for us to debate it back and forth. but I want you to hear some of our thought processes so you might understand. Yes, sir.
I'm Councilman Drake, and I've been on the council for 7 years, resident of Red Oak for 20 years. And my first year on the council, I joined the council to have a board myself, as I'm observing what the city was going through, and I've seen a lot of change. But I do want to make this statement. My first year on the council, Councilman Lightfoot was already a seasoned councilman here. And he made a comment to the city executives that first year that stuck with me. And he said, just because we approve what you guys are doing, don't take this council for granted. And I just want to announce that in the 7 years I've been on this council, whatever the city is asking for, when they come to us, I can see that they do not take it for granted. So we do relish and think over what they're asking for and what they want to spend in this city. We do take that into consideration. I personally know for a fact that I do because of the comment that he made 7 years ago, and it stuck with me. And I just want to say that, so I know when they come to us and ask for certain things in the city, it is taking its toll. It really is. That's all I'm going to say.
I just like kind of echo those sentiments, Councilman Franklin. Just knowing the budget workshop that we sat in, staff has really tried their best to give us reasonable numbers, competitive numbers, because if we do not address some of these issues, eventually we will be the issue, and we will be reactive instead of being proactive. So not just council, not just the mayor, but city staff also has really done their best to make this as reasonable as possible. And I just want you to know, we're not sitting here just approving numbers just for the sake of approving numbers. We've discussed so many line items that we can remove. We've also addressed line items that benefit from the complaints that we receive. If you see some of the numbers that it costs to redo some of these roads, to get some of these fire trucks, to get some of these police cars, to retain police officers, it's challenging. So we don't disagree that numbers are higher. We don't disagree there, but we have to find a way to be proactive instead of being reactive. We'll face an entirely different scenario if we're reactive.
So, and I think Councilman Franklin hit it on the head. You know, each department head, you know, so this starts at the department level, looking at what they have to get accomplished. And they filter it and they put it on this big spreadsheet. And then the leadership, city managers, finance department, do that line item strike. You know, we can't afford that. And they'll strike that information out. And then they have to go back to those department heads and say, you know, I know you asked for 4 employees to be able to keep up with citywide growth. We can only afford 3, or we can only afford 2. And so they make that decision, and then they justify that to us on why they can say we need 2. So I think that they do a wonderful job. I support them. Yes, Ms. Story, I said that. And I think you'll see on this de minimis, on the next item when we kind of talk about that, so we can make sure that everybody understands what that de minimis rate is and how we are able to go to that de minimis rate without a recall, a petition. Okay? Councilman, y'all have anything else?
I really don't have much else that I can add. I mean, I think things that the councilman has said are true. I mean, we definitely looked at this budget. We've had at least 3 public workshops, and obviously we've had the time in between for us to look at budget items as well. Yeah, I mean, I would encourage it, and Ms. Story, you said it, that you're going to be watching, you know, looking at the budget. I mean, I encourage that. I would love to have more participation at the budget workshops. I think it would be helpful. Not everyone's going to agree. I mean, you know, we may say we need 5 police officers, you may say 4 will be enough, and that'll be a hard decision to make, but I mean, that's why we hire experts to tell us what's needed out there. So I mean, there's definitely room for disagreement on making a tougher process, but I think seeing it in action would be helpful. I mean, I know it's been helpful for me. You know, we're all here just to have a voice in the way that the city runs. I mean, I don't know about these other guys, but I don't get paid to do this. This is volunteer for me. I've done it a long time, and I meant the comment that I said that Councilman Drake mentioned. I mean, we can support all day long, but that doesn't mean that we agree with every decision. I mean, there are things that we challenge. There were things even in this budget that we said maybe we don't have to do that. You know, could we save that for next year? And, you know, there's a risk that inflation continues, and whatever we put off for next year could cost us a little more. That could happen. That's happened in budgets in the past. But there are, you know, obviously there are limits to what we can do with the money that we have available, and we try to make the best of it. We try to accomplish the goals that we think most of the citizens want, which is growth, which is increased services, which is better police response times, which is, you know, the comment we had about I'm paying taxes, I got potholes. I mean, every city or every street in the city is on a replacement plan, and wherever that street falls, you know, we got to have money to pay for it when its time comes. And we've got, you know, the streets in our plan this time around that we're trying to fix as well. So, it's not done lightly at all. It's done with a lot of care. We direct staff. They spend a lot of hours outside of their normal jobs putting things together and answering our questions because we want to be sure we're doing the right thing for everyone. It's not good to have inflation. It's not good to have more money coming out of my pocket in my personal life either. And I understand that I'll be paying more taxes this year as well. It is a true statement. But when we're looking at it from the stewardship of the city standpoint, these are the things that need to be paid for to make our city run the way that we want it to run. And there's obviously room for disagreement. I'm open to discuss any of them individually throughout the process, and we'll never agree 100%. We won't agree with staff 100%, but at the end of the day, you know, one of our responsibilities is to hire good people and to listen to what they have to say and let them tell us what the city needs and make a good decision about that. So and that's how this process happens, and that's how we end up where we are today.
Good.
But don't stop your opinions.
No, I mean, we have to have the opinion. That's what we need.
This process starts in May or June with the directors. We get it at the end of June or July, or what they want, and we start.
March.
Together.
Starts in March.
March, okay. I know it's a long process, and, same thing at this point. It's just a mind blowing, just trying to get things fixed, redo, though. It is a long process, it's a very thoughtful process.
So,
It's not, go ahead.
nope, I'm sorry. You know, yes, sir.
This is my first year here. I've been on 2 months. My bio email has been up for about 6 weeks or so. I've received numerous emails on this already. The street repair is a big one around here. From what I understand, this last week we had a street get washed totally out up there around Ben's neighborhood. I don't know if it's still open, or if it's still closed, or if it's open yet or not. I haven't made it up that area to look at it. But the whole thing just disappeared, I guess, with all the rain this past week. And what happened granted, that was not in the city, technically, but what, 2 blocks outside of on Josie? We all heard about that, but they were here in Red Oak. So, yes, we've gone through this budget pretty much, said yes or no on certain stuff, but everybody's taxes are going up no matter what, good or bad. We got to look out for what's best for the city on our end. May not necessarily like it, but we are all on a fixed budget, retirement, working, whatever we do for a living. We're all struggling on that part. Inflation's just killing us, gas is killing us, everything's killing us. Trust us, we understand everything. We've had these same arguments amongst ourselves. 3 meetings now we've had. So we understand, but we also got to look at, we got streets. We don't want to drive it down and getting our car tore up or running off the road because there's no culvert in the road anymore. We still got rain coming possibly tonight or tomorrow. May make things a little bit worse too. If we can't fix some of these streets, it's going to be a lot worse next year.
You know, and that brings up a good point. Thank you, Councilman Smith. You know, if you're living on a street that has potholes, you're like, well, how come they're not fixing my pothole in front of us? Well, the public, department, Public Works Department, you know, has done a study, and they prioritize the worst streets, and so through our budget, we're allowed to squeak in maybe 5 or 6 some joint efforts with the county to redo or microsurf or whatever they do to help that out. And I understand it's frustrating with a citizen to not see that happen on their street until it happens, and then they're like, wow, thank you. Yeah, we'd love to be able to do them all at one time each year, to be able to make sure the maintenance is done. You know, if there's a crater that's 6 foot tall, we want our citizens to let us know that that's there, and they're gonna jump on that one and fix it, but it's tough. So that's some of the thinking that goes on in what our minds are. I know it doesn't help all of that, but please realize that none of us take it lightly on what we try to get done. Saying all that, any other comments? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the ordinance number 22-032.
So moved.
Councilman Goodwin. Second. Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 5-0. Okay, number 9. Conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-033, the City of Red Oak, Texas, levying ad valorem taxes for the fiscal year 2022-2023, tax year 2022, at a rate of 0.481043 for operating and for maintenance and operations, and a rate of 0.216421 for debt services, for the total rate of 0.697464 per $100 assessed valuation on all taxable properties within the corporate city limits of Red Oak, City of Red Oak, as of January 1st of 2022, to provide revenues for current expenses and debt service requirements, providing for due and delinquent dates, together with penalties and interest, and declaring an effective date. Mr. Fuller. Want to give us some background, and then we'll open the public hearing?
Yeah, so this is the tax rate that the budget was formed using. And I will just make one note. I believe, and Gloria can correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard a lot of talk about streets. It looks like almost $8.2 million of this year's budget is going towards streets. So that's a pretty heavy amount. So those are the types of things that we're getting hit with. For instance, Methodist Street, you know, you're talking about inflation, you know, in the general public, you're getting hit with floats between 7 and 8%. When you come to streets and construction, we're getting hit with 40 to 60% inflation. And you just can't get things done without doing some of this. But at any rate, the budget that you just approved was based upon this tax rate. I think Gloria does have a specific motion on this one for after the public hearing.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. So this is a public hearing, and I'll open the public hearing at 7:05. And please, you don't have to sign up or anything, but if you care to speak on this, please go ahead and step up to the mic and state your name, if we don't already have that, and if you want to speak to that again.
Oh, budget or the tax rate?
No, I'm sorry, this is the tax rate. This is the less than 70 cents.
You open on the public hearing now?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, 7:05. So, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Again, there's few people here. Do we have anybody online? Do you know that is wanting to speak on this?
I don't see anybody online.
Okay. So again, 5 minutes, please, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Kim Sturman, 201 Methodist Street, and, yes, I've heard the comment made that raise the tax rate as much as you can because you can. Now, I understand that the, state of Texas has set the no new revenue tax rate at 57 cents, and if you want to go up past the voter approved rate, which actually I think is an oxymoron in and of itself, because the voter approved rate is 0.683, and us voters aren't approving it, but that's just as high as you're supposed to be able to go without having voter approval, except for the fact that you found this de minimis tax rate that gives you another extra cent plus to tack onto us. Now, I know in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot, but what this does is it starts to set a tax base for the for the future years. And we are experiencing a lot of growth. And with that growth, there's not all that many more amenities that are necessary when you're coming in with all the new sales taxes are up, I told you 98% on all the permission slips, the bills and stuff is up 98%. Things are going up, so you're getting more revenue because the city is growing. And yes, there does have to have some infrastructure attached to that growth, but the fact that you are just determined to get as much out of us as you can doesn't set well with the taxpayer. I'm just saying, I'm sorry. It doesn't, especially today with how things are going in our whole world, in the United States, and Red Oak isn't the only place that we all participate in. We are in the great state of Texas, and if Ellis County can do it, and even the school board is making concessions, I expect our city to do the same for the taxpayer. I expect it. And if you push for the de minimis tax rate, it's not going to make me very happy. It's not going to make a lot of people happy, and we'll be watching you really close. I just wanted to give you notice on that. And we might do that petition. And I don't know what we'll do, but it's not going to bode well for this city just to go in with the mindset that we're going to take as much as we can get. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? No one else online, correct? Come on, okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion at 7:09 to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
That was Drake, Lightfoot. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0 to close that public hearing. So the tax rate compared to last year is 0.5 cent less. Okay? The definition of when a petition can be called is
rate does not exceed, the proposed rate does not exceed the rate that for petition. According to the state law.
Yeah, so if you'll state the whole, please. So there's the no new tax rate, which is that 57 cents that I believe you're kind of talking about, and that gives us a flat, same dollar amount as what last year. Would that be correct?
Yes, that's the 0.574095.
And that's the total rate between the M&O and the interest and sink. That would be that 57 some odd cents. People that you elected, and I elected, that are down in Austin, gave us that right to go 3.5, and what is that called?
The 3.5% is the voter approval rate.
Is the voter approval rate. Inflation, as you know, is 7%. Or some value, whoever you want to listen to, right? I mean, these economists try to figure things out. They got a lot more numbers behind them. That petition rate is 8%. That's where you could come in and ask for a petition to allow us. We are, make sure I don't say this wrong, 0.5 cent less than that 8%. Is that correct?
The proposed rate is 0.006 cents less than the current tax rate.
Okay, and is that 8%, is that less than that 8%?
The 8% rate is 0.703707.
So that makes it a petitionable rate if we left it the same as last year. Okay. Now, you don't want to hear that. But all the stuff that we worked through that budget to retain A-quality firefighters, to retain A-quality police, to have some type of normalcy in road conditions, in equipment. You'll see in this consent agenda, and I think we probably will do line items so you can kind of see this, to buy one stupid truck for the firefighters to use, not in a firefighting capacity, but to be able to get equipment for storage and stuff, is $125,000 stupid dollars. Dumb. Stuff that you have to pay for, we have to pay for. Plus, they jack it up, I'm sorry. So construction, that $1 million that was supposed to be on your street, Methodist, is now costing us $1.6 million. $600,000 just to expand from Lower Quail Run down to Red Oak Road. That's just so you don't hit a fire truck when they're coming down the road. It's stupid. The school, it went from, by delaying a year, or whatever that delay is, $80-something million to $93 million, or what is that dollar amount? What is that? Ms. Story, help me, I don't know.
Well, they were at 86.5 million with 1.5 million to current move to.
But the bond's being called for more, is my point. Yeah. So it's affecting everything, and it's frustrating, and I understand y'all's frustration. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So because the proposed rate is higher than that no new revenue rate, we called this public hearing to allow for public comment on the proposed rate. The proposed rate is not greater than the de minimis rate, which is equal to the rate that will raise $500,000 and the current debt rate for the city of Red Oak.
The rate does not exceed the rate that allows voters to petition for an election under Tax Code 26.075. As a result, the City of Red Oak is not required to hold an election to seek voter approval of the rate, and the qualified voters of the City of Red Oak need not petition the City of Red Oak to require an election to determine whether to reduce the proposed tax rate. However, the public may express their support or opposition in comments to the proposed rate at this public hearing. Council may take these comments into consideration before adopting the rate.
So Councilman Goodwin, just in a nutshell, if you think that, if you're hearing from citizens that we don't need to be adapting this higher rate, it's not set in stone, we can lower it, but then our budget will not be funded? That'd be
We'd have to revise it.
they'd have to come back and revise the budget. So, but it doesn't qualify for them to do a petition, petition the city to lower it, basically, if I'm understanding correctly. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I want to have discussion on this. I don't want it just to pass it. I want you to voice, if you have something to say, I want you to voice something.
I don't, there's a misunderstanding or a misconception that because your city grows, it automatically gives grounds to decrease when it comes to tax rate or taxes, and unfortunately, that is not the case. As your city grows, so does other intangible disadvantages. You have to make sure you have fire, emergency response. Now it increases the wear and tear on your roads. Now it increases other things that you have to take care of. And unfortunately, a growing city is an advantage as well as a disadvantage, especially in the stage that we are in. It gives us a chance to move towards the future, but there's also some things we have to have in place, and we're doing it at a time to where inflation is very high. So again, I just kind of want to make sure I personally address the concern, because I know how it feels when you get a tax bill in the mail saying your value is up, everything is up, the value of the dollar is down. So I just don't want the people to think that, one, we're multi-millionaires and we can afford this tax increase, or we're just approving numbers just for the sake of saying we approve numbers. I really do want the public to know that we've tried our best to do what was fair. And someone mentioned about increasing of salaries and more police cars. These are items that, again, if we do not take care of in a proactive manner, it will be more expensive to do it later. And I just want the public to know that. That is something that we have to address. And again, just because the city is growing, that is not a good reason to decrease taxes, because that number does not compensate for what we're heading towards.
So, just a little side, Mr. Franklin, what do you do in your, sector, your private sector?
Working city planning for the city of Dallas.
Okay. So you understand, you have a great understanding of trying to balance a budget or trying to
Absolutely.
do things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
So you have some expertise in that area.
I do, and I try not to speak on behalf of city staff, because I understand both sides, but I can tell you, and I know staff cannot speak for themselves, when you sit in those meetings and you're looking at the numbers, and you're looking at projection, you're looking at city planning, you're looking at the grand scheme of things, you do not intend to go and increase a budget or to increase numbers just because you can. You try your best to do what's best by the city when it comes to those numbers, because you are hired and you have a fiduciary duty to make sure you was doing what's best by those numbers. So, on behalf of city staff, I know how it feels when you have to do a budget like this and what's be perceived as you're being greedy. Because trust me, if it's something that staff said we can actually go without, staff will try their best to go without, because they do not want a negative feedback, they want the public to trust them.
Sure.
And I'll get off my soapbox.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that it's costing more money, but it is costing more money to do the things that need to be done from an investment standpoint of the infrastructure, from a retention standpoint of the staff that actually makes the city run and be successful. I mean, the dollar amounts we're talking about for police officers, that's just one position. Every other position, when we do market study, we're way under market. Every position. We can't hire people at the rates that we're paying. We can't retain people at the rates that we're paying. So it's just a cost that we
You
have.
can if you don't want quality people.
Sure. Well, we couldn't even get police officers at the amount we were trying to pay. So, I mean, not that chief would have taken anyone not quality, but I mean, we weren't even getting them to look at. I do support the budget. I support the things that we indicated needed to get done. The tax rate is a logical outcome of the budget that we've approved, so I am forced to approve the tax rate, as it's presented.
Anyone else want to speak to this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-033.
I think we have to read a specific one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's,
I've already closed that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I've got it.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I'll read it though, Mr. Mayor. I think.
So do you have?
Yeah, I do. She
Okay.
said it needs to be specific wording for the, since it's a tax rate.
Yep, I'm sorry.
All right, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.697464 per $100 of assessed valuation, with a maintenance and operations rate of 0.481043 and a debt rate of 0.216421, which is effectively a 21.49% increase in the tax rate.
So that was read to the record by Councilman Lightfoot. I hear a second, please.
Second.
Got that. Good one. They always shorthand.
Doesn't make any difference.
Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, no.
Okay. That is a 4-1 approval. Okay. Item 10. Item 10 is consider approval of ordinance 22-034, the City of Red Oak, Texas, to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the fiscal year 2022 to 2023 adopted budget, which raises more revenue from the property taxes than the fiscal year 2022 adopted budget. Mr. Fuller?
And Gloria is here too if we have any details, but this is basically ratifying everything that you've just done tonight. And there is a specific motion for this one as well.
Okay. Does everyone have this?
I've got it too, Commissioner, but I think so the last one was the specifics on the tax rate increase. This is the specific on the actual property tax rate. Is that right?
All right, so again, council, this is a discussion that we want to have. This kind of does go back to what Mr. Chairman brought up. This is because of the taxing entity increasing the property taxes. This is increasing our revenues for this upcoming year. Okay? Say that right?
I think it's increasing property valuation, which is leading to increased taxes.
Okay.
But, yeah.
That's the problem.
Okay. Any discussions that you need to have on this?
I'm not, this is just a component of what we've already looked at in revenue and budget standpoint. It's just one component that we have to call specifically.
Okay, so, if you would please, someone read this. If they don't have it in front of you, I can provide it.
I got it, if you want to go ahead. So I move that the council ratify the property tax increase reflected in the City of Red Oaks fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, which raises more total property taxes than last year's budget by $2,544,793, which is a 27.85% increase.
Okay, second. That's Councilman Lightfoot. Councilman Drake. Those, in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye?
Smith, no.
That passes 4-1. Item 11. Consider approval of ordinance number 22-035 of the City of Red Oak, Texas, authorizing the issuance and sale of City of Red Oak, Texas tax notes series 2022, levying an annual ad valorem tax and providing for the security for and payment of said note, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject. Yep.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, citizens of Red Oak. My name is Jim Sabelis. I'm Managing Director with Hilltop Securities. I and a team of professionals are the municipal advisors to the city. On August 8th, my partner Andre Aiello came forward and did a presentation about funding the coming year's capital improvement program. About $5.2 million of projects that virtually touch just about every aspect of the city. Municipal facilities, parks, public safety, a wide range of items. On this morning, we received bids for that. The city has a AA rating. It's never been in a stronger financial condition. I'm pleased to say that we received 5 bids, and the low bid was for a 3.09% true interest cost for Truist Bank. It's lower than what we proposed in our presentation in August. We actually indicated 3.5 as an estimate. We received those 5 bids, and they were all excellent bids. This will be callable at any time if you choose to. We can refund it at a 7-year amortization. The net amount that will be funded will be $5,279,000 at 3.09%. Again, City of Red Oak, the strongest financial condition is recognized by the bidders. This was a very efficient bid. This time of year, we're doing a lot of these type of financings for our clients, and this is exceeded our expectations. As financial advisor, I want to thank Todd, Gloria. They did an excellent job at what they do. They answered a lot of questions from investors. These are unique times. You know, we've got a lot of interesting issues, but the fact of the matter is that the future is very bright for this community. Your very stringent policies and procedures, your conservative budgeting are well received, and they've consistently been well received. So, again, this exceeds what we discussed previously. We're very pleased as a financial advisor. We recommend approval. If you do approve it, the documents that you would be executed the ordinance we presented to the Attorney General of Texas. Attorney General reviews and approves, has to approve every issuance by a municipality for proper legal processes and procedure. All have been followed. There's no doubt that that will take place. They'll be submitted after being executed, and we anticipate closing in September 27th. That concludes my formal comments. I answer any questions or provide any additional information if available.
Thank you, Mr. Sabelis. Thank you. Council, any questions? So you said it came in at 3.09%?
3.09% by Truist.
And we calculated all that when we thought it was going to be 3.5, basically.
Correct, and we've actually given the amortization schedules earlier today, working with Laura, so they be built into your budget. The first year's debt payment aligns exactly what was anticipated.
Excellent. Council, questions?
Jim, we've had AA rating for a long time, right?
A few years.
Yeah. Okay. And that's improved our execution on these deals. At one point, the rating was allowing us to actually forego insurance costs and make the deals a little cheaper. Is that still the case, or?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm really glad you asked that question. This was a competitive bid. We didn't ask for a rating, but we indicated to the investors that you do have a rating, and you do have a AA rating. And I've been fortunate to work in the community for a long time, and I remember when we were just BBB rated, you know. We were excited to get that first investment credit. But we've gone up the rating consistently as the city's grown, and policies, procedures, and professionalism have expanded across the board. When we bid this to them, these investors receive a package of financial information, budget, audits, tax reports, and they do their own research. So to answer your question, no insurance and no rating, this was bid on your own credit because it's the most efficient. It reduced the cost of issuance accordingly, and it again, allowed us to bid this process. But my anticipation is that if we bid your bonds out, you know, we make insurance available, but as I've indicated to you, as you reach AA, when insurance companies are AA, I'd rather have the city who levies ad valorem tax and pay my place and have the insurance company promise. I don't expect you to be using insurance, but that doesn't mean if there's an option to reduce your costs, we use it, but you know, you're very efficient. And again, we're only a step or two away from being a AAA rated city. And again, this goes against the headwinds that investors see nationally. You know, we here in Texas are very blessed with our economy and our growth. You know, around the country, you know, we're in turbulent at times with inflation, interest rates, you know, political unrest. You know, a lot of places are not doing well. We in Texas are doing very well, and you here in the Metroplex are doing extremely well, and Red Oak is at the top of the list of doing outstanding. You know, the very great things are happening in the community right now.
So,
To answer your question, yes, appreciate it.
so just in one or two numbers, or five numbers, how many cities do you represent?
Well, approximately 50 in my portfolio, working with our whole team of bankers, and of that, I would say one thing I think is that when I look at you, you know, I could put on, you know, I could think of who the peers are in your AA category. We've been in the market with them, but you compare to me, you're unique in the southern sector, and we work with the number of the southern sector ones, but you align yourself very much with some of the highest quality demographic, fast-growing northern sector cities that are rated kind of a AA in the same range. And we've actually been in the market the last couple of weeks with some of those that would be maybe equally northern distance from the south.
Sure.
And I have to say, your rating compare favorably
Sure.
to them, and your rating compare favorably to them. And of the cities I represent in this area, your rating is among the highest.
So my point is, it's common for a city to sell bonds, correct? Can you name a city that is enough money that they could just pay for things outright without selling bonds?
I would say that in my entire portfolio of clients,
It might happen.
I can't think of one that doesn't have some debt outstanding, for two reasons. One is that, I learned this concept early in my career called period equity. Even if you could raise money, people live in a community, they move in and they move out, businesses move in and out, and assets get used over time. And, you know, there's an old saying, don't finance a car for longer than it's gonna be worth. But at the same time, you know, when you force yourself to have a road, or you force yourself to pay for things, either one of two things happen. Either you can't meet the needs of the community, or you cannot, you can't fund projects. To give an example, let me speak to this, that I do have one client that, over years, there are 3 AAAs, and they're a mature city. They haven't grown by 100 people in the last 5 years. You know, they've been fully built out, but even they, as a fully built out city with no more roads to build, no new improvements. I was out there a couple weeks ago talking about the guy do, you know, renovation, and you know, there's an interesting analysis we did. You know, how much could they fund if they did it over 7 years, or 12 years, or 15 years? It really comes down to, the reality is that costs are expensive. It's hard to budget everything in 1 year, especially given very stringent limitations that we have due into our state legislature. So to answer your question, no, and one thing I want to point about your community, your community's always been very judicial and very conservative in issuing debts. Some of the highest rated, fastest growing communities have the highest amount of debt. You know, some of the very high profile communities you see in the Metroplex, they actually have higher debt because they fund projects, but there's kind of a cause effect of funding projects, having qualities, amenities for citizens to come there, and this city's been able to balance a very conservative and I think limited debt issuance and providing quality assets. The improvements are very significant that you've done, and they're very reasonable.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Okay, so we do also have a specific language that needs to be read in, and Mr. Lightfoot, would you?
Okay. It's suggested, but it's pretty good, so I'll go with it. Move to adopt an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of City of Red Oak, Texas Tax Note Series 2022 and approving all other matters related to this issuance.
Okay. Councilman Lightfoot, second, please.
Second.
Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
Passes 5-0. Okay, now we are going to go back to consent agenda items. Consent agendas are items that are considered routine in nature and can be acted upon by one motion. Is there any item that would like to be removed so we can share? All y'all have a copy of this? Okay. Is there anybody that would like to remove one of these so they can expand on it? Or just talk about it? We don't have to remove it, we can sure talk about it. Okay? Hearing none, is there any discussion that wants to happen on these consent agendas items?
Just confirmation, said that the public do have a copy.
They do have.
Okay, I just love them to read through some of those numbers.
Yeah, yeah, so like 122,000 for, fire department.
At 250.
Yeah, 250. 175,000 for, fire department, 550. For road maintenance, 110,000 for dump truck. I think the next one is, we're trying to help with what we just had last week, 5 inches of rain, to 12 inches of rain, depends on where you are in the city, to help with stormwater sewage, so our citizens aren't flooded. Fortunately, we got crime in the city, so we needed an alternate judge. That's a 2-year appointment. And so this kind of came up in the school aspect about not getting competitive bids. We hire a company that does that themselves, so they accept those bids in. It decreases us having to have a staff person that does that one thing by themselves, and so that's what this other thing is. If I'm not mistaken, for the most part.
Right, it's joining and cooperative purchasing agreement.
To help get our services for our citizens at a less expensive price. It's like at the county level, when we're redoing a road, we may partner with the road and they, the county, and they resurface a road. So, that's the type of things. So entertain that motion to approve consent agenda.
So moved.
Councilman Goodwin, second by Councilman Drake. Any other questions?
No question.
Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right. That passes 5-0. Council, or Mr. Fuller, Mr. Phillips, is there anything else that we are in need of addressing that I missed on the agenda? That's the end of the agenda. Okay.
I have nothing.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 7:40.
So moved.
Councilman Franklin, Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, we are adjourned at 7:40. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Ms. Platt.